Could there be a reunion in Queens with a former Mets pitcher? Also, it seems like the Mets could be out on one center fielder at the trade deadline. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Radio. Smash that thumbs up on this video right now. We appreciate your support. And comment below. Let us know your thoughts on the show. Guess you'd like to see. Tomorrow we'll have Ernest Dove, prospect insider for the Mets, on the show to talk about prospects with us. At Mets Daily Show on Twitter. Become an insider for just $5 a month. A weekly exclusive weekend video, as well as a weekly watch party and monthly giveaway is coming this month. So make sure you become an insider. Just cheaper than a cup of coffee. $5 a month. David Robertson is a guy the Mets have reportedly expressed interest in, according to Will Salmon, our guy at The Athletic. And why not? You know, this was a guy who pitched for the Mets a few years ago and had success in a Mets uniform. He's pitched for the Yankees. He's had success in New York. Listen, he's 40 years old. He probably doesn't have more than a year or two left in the tank. But as recently as last year, when he last pitched for Texas, he had 3 ERA. 2023, a 3.03 ERA. 2022, a 2.4 ERA. You know, he's been a successful pitcher late in his 30s and now 40 years old. And I say, why not? I remember I was at the game that he got traded during a rain delay to the Miami Marlins. And I remember thinking, one, what's going on? Why is he not, in this game? And two, why did they trade him to the Marlins? Why would he go to a team that's, not going to do anything? So David Robertson is a guy with playoff experience, with a ton of big league experience, 16 years of experience. I'd say why not? He is a better option out there for the Mets than throwing out the likes of a guy, they just DFA'd and picked up by the Yankees, Enrico Garcia, or, name him. Name whoever the scrub the Mets have gotten at this point, and he's better than. I mean, I could give you a million names. I'm not even going to go through them. But I say sign David Robertson. You have Brooks Raley likely back this weekend. He's going to be back very soon here, coming off Tommy John surgery. But you don't want to put too much pressure on Brooks Raley coming off TJ surgery. So I say, why don't you sign David Robertson? So we'll see by the weekend. I said the Mets are going to make a move this week. Maybe that's the move. Maybe they sign David Robertson. One move they won't be making, it feels like it won't be Byron Buxton. Buxton said to media yesterday before he participated in the home run derby, which he did not win. Cal Raleigh won. He said, I'm excited about being a Twin for life. And everyone hears that and they say, wait, what? So he does have a no trade clause, and I don't think he's going to go out there and say, I'm going to be a Twin for life, if that means he'll accept the trade. Because to accept the trade when you have a no trade weeks later after just saying you'll be a Twin for life seems like he would be enemy number one in Minnesota if that happens. So we could basically shoot down Byron Buxton to the Mets. It's not happening, guys. But I'll say this. There is business to be done with the Minnesota Twins, and they have 2 and maybe even 3 pitchers that intrigue the Mets. Now, there was one reporter who put out a potential offer that would make a lot of sense, and you got to start thinking about those names. Joe Ryan, right-hand pitcher, starting pitcher. Lefty reliever Danny Coulomb, who I've mentioned in the show, who the Mets missed out on signing for a couple million in free agency. He got $3 million. He's been one of the best relievers in the sport. And Lewis Varland. Lewis Varland, another dominant Twins reliever. Twins have 2 of the best relievers in the game, and they're not very good. The team is not very good. They're very good, those 2 pitchers. But the Twins are 47 and 49. They're 4 games back in the wild card. So, they're hanging afloat to a wild card spot. That division is pretty much locked up with the Tigers having an 11.5 game lead over them. But I'd imagine there'll be sellers. Joe Ryan, 2 more years of control after this year. So the selling point is that he's going to be cheap. Now, what you're saying, why would the Twins trade him? Well, they can get a haul for him now. A 2.72 ERA, 109 in the third innings, and 121 strikeouts. A whip of just .91. So you want to go out and get a starter that you can believe in? Joe Ryan could be that guy and won't cost you financially a lot. Now, if you're going for Joe Ryan, you got to get a package. You got to get one of those 2 relievers. Danny Coulomb, .68 ERA over 26 and 2/3 innings, a whip of .94, 29 strikeouts. Lewis Varland, a 1.81 ERA, a whip of 1.01, 44 and 2/3 innings. He's been magnificent, and all 3 of those financially basically cost you nothing. Now, prospects, what do? If you can find a way to get 2 or 3, those 3 guys, Ryan, Coulomb, and Varland, it's probably something like a Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat, and maybe it's our guy, Nick LaRusso. Maybe it's those three. Or two, and maybe you part with Beatty. Beatty, Sproat, Jet Williams for Varland, Coulomb, Ryan. I'm the Mets. I do that. I think there is some allure to the Twins to getting one of these Mets infield prospects. Jet Williams has allure because he's an outfielder, and they could use an outfielder. But why not if you're the Twins? They have Royce Lewis. He hasn't been the greatest. Royce Lewis could also end up becoming a DH. They have Cody Clemens at second. We'll see what they do. Ty Francis at first. Maybe if you get a Beatty or you get a Vientos, that's your first baseman of the future because Ty Francis is not the long-term guy. So they can plug and play a couple of those guys. If they were to get Jet Williams, Brett Beatty, Brandon Sproat, I would imagine that gets you those three. That gets you Coulomb, that gets you Ryan, that gets you Varland. You fill your starter and relief holes with one single trade, and then you go out and find your center fielder. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Are you looking at the Twins as team number one to do business with? I've talked about Seth Lugo, but if the Twins can give you a lefty and a righty reliever who are both having magnificent seasons, you got to think about that deal. You got to think about an offer with Minnesota. So that's going to be intriguing to watch here in the coming weeks. Can the Mets and Twins strike a deal? I think if you ask me out of the relievers, I'd rather have Coulomb. He's a lefty. Have him and Raley. You have two great lefties out of the pen. But if you could find a way to get Varland too, and it might cost you maybe another prospect, I wouldn't be against it. Then your bullpen is lights out. You have Raley, you have Coulomb, you have Varland. Jose Budo just threw an inning. He'll probably be back this weekend, so Budo's back. A lot of good pieces in that bullpen that was, once a problem for this team, losing Danny Young and losing A.J. Minter, and now losing Max Kranick for the year and losing all these guys, losing Daniel Nunez, losing 4 relievers. You could go out and get 2 right now and then add Raley in the mix, and you have 3 new relievers in the mix to add to a bullpen that was once beleaguered. Those guys did not make the All-Star team, but Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, and David Peterson did make the All-Star team. Now, I expect Diaz to pitch an inning. I expect Alonso to come in for Freddie Freeman. Lindor will be starting and hitting 8th. We'll see if David Peterson gets an inning, maybe a few outs. Because he was kind of a late addition. They're not required to throw every starter out there. We'll see if Peterson maybe gets a lefty-lefty matchup at some point later in this game. But nice to see those 4 Mets All-Stars. Obviously, Juan Soto didn't make it. Big dumper, Cal Raleigh winning the Home Run Derby. I thought it was an absolute joke. They want people to watch it. I think the Derby is better than the All-Star game. But then to have a tiebreaker decided by an inch, by less than a foot, on that home run with Rooker and Raleigh. I mean, Raleigh might have been out in the first round. Have a swing off. A swing off. Fans love a swing off. I thought that's something that has got to change. How are you going to measure 451 feet versus 450 feet in 8 inches? I mean, that is just so comical that they actually decided that by less than a foot. Not really fair to Brent Rooker. Do a swing off. It's the home run derby. We're not curing cancer here. It's supposed to be a fun competition. Let's get a little bit more serious about something that's an actual joke and have a swing off. Let's make it fun. It's supposed to be fun. That wasn't a fun way to break a tiebreaker. It was fun watching Cal Raleigh and homers, big dumper, the nickname, his dad throwing, his brother behind the plate, a family affair. That was cool. But can we get real and do swing offs here? And, my dad was saying, and he's not wrong. He's like, no Judge, no Alonso, no Soto. It's changed, guys. Guys are opting to not play. Guys are opting not to do the home run derby. Again, I was happy Pete didn't because I think he's done it enough. Pass on the torch to some other guys and, worry about the second half of the season and don't risk an injury in the home run derby. But he is right. It's lost a lot of allure because you don't have these superstars being a part of it. And, it's changed. The All-Star game isn't what it used to be. And there's a reason they stopped. They stopped making home field based on it because guys aren't showing up. Some guys don't care. Some guys, most guys don't try in it. So it's sad what it's become because the All-Star game used to be a treat. And now the All-Star game tonight, I don't care that much. It'll be nice to see Lindor. I'll probably watch a Lindor at bat or two and maybe see Pete. But, I'm not going to be locked into the TV tonight. to watch it. But you should be locked in to Mets Daily and subscribe. Smash that thumbs up. Follow me at Jake Brown Radio. Become a Mets Daily Insider for $5 a month. We will be back with Ernest Dove as our guest tomorrow to talk all insiders. We'll break down the MLB draft and go through the Mets picks and break down these prospects. Some of them may stay. Some of them are going to go before the deadline. And maybe we'll have some news. Maybe by tomorrow the Mets sign David Robertson or have made a deal. Thanks for watching Mets Daily, everybody. Enjoy the All-Star game, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.